Multi-tiered system of support. Tier 3 support and instruction. This presentation is an overview of the problem-solving process for Tier 3 level of instructional support. It includes clarification for what is Tier 3, considerations for Tier 3 support, Tier 3 problem-solving, planning, instruction, and review. Tier 3 is a more intense type of instruction when supplemental instruction does not effectively close instructional gaps over time. It requires individualized planning that may include increasing time, reducing group size, changing to a more specialized interventionist, or some other way of changing the intensity of the supplemental instructional plan. Tier 3 is specifically scheduled so that it does not disrupt core instruction. This level of intensity is necessary for about 5% of our students to provide enough support to help learn skills necessary to be successful. As a district, the primary goal for this school year is to clearly define best practices and intensification strategies at Tier 3 levels of instructional support. In order to ensure that interventions and instructional plans are implemented consistently, schools must select an appropriate intervention delivery model. Options include school-wide intervention block, grade level intervention block, within classroom intervention time, elective class, or year-long or double block class. All WIN instruction should include these elements to be a purposeful, effective instructional time, especially for students receiving a Tier 3 level of instructional support. WIN instruction is for all students. It should be skill-focused, structured and chunked, in small groups with direct instruction. Students should be engaged, active, responding, and giving and receiving constructive feedback. Establishing a consistent WIN time does more than just provide a time for intervention instruction. It protects core instruction from being interrupted. It assigns a time for all students' needs to be met at their instructional level. It allows the opportunity to utilize all available staff and resources, and takes consideration for training needed for all teachers to provide quality instruction, especially for Tier 3 levels of instruction. MTSS problem solving follows this cycle of problem-solving identification, problem analysis, planning instruction to address problems, and evaluating plans for problems to determine if they're adequately addressing the needs of students. You'll see this problem-solving process implemented at Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3 levels of instructional support. Assessment is the driving factor for the problem-solving process. Tests that assess foundational skills at each grade level, such as DIBELS, Ames Web, and EasyCBM, are research-based assessments that use predictive validity based on national and local norms to identify and monitor progress of at-risk students. Weekly progress monitoring assessment is especially essential for at-risk students at a level of Tier 3 support to determine effectiveness of intervention instruction based on national and local norms and associated expected rates of growth. Because Tier 3 levels of instructional support is so individualized and intensified level of risk support, Tier 3 problem solving is conducted by the MTSS problem solving team. All levels of instructional support begin with data teams. At Tier 3, the data team that conducts problem solving is the MTSS problem solving team. This team should consist of an administrator, a PSD coordinator, school psychologist, and Title I lead. Also, helpful staff members to contribute to Tier 3 problem solving are the school counselor, PBIS lead, classroom teachers, Tier 3 interventionists, and case colleagues, especially those who work with the students being discussed. When Tier 2 students are not making adequate progress and have been monitored through 2 10-week interventions, and fidelity of each intervention was monitored and adjustments were made, Students are then referred to the MTSS problem-solving team for Tier 3 problem solving to determine if a more intense level of intervention support is required. Students are then referred to the MTSS problem-solving team for Tier 3 problem solving to determine if a more intense level of intervention support is needed. The problem-solving team first meets to plan the completion of an assessment plan to collect more information about the student. Each member of the team is assigned a domain to investigate to collect more information about the student. A 2-week duration is given to collect the data. After 2 weeks, the problem-solving team meets to analyze the results of the assessment plan. They then make a recommendation for either continued Tier 2 instruction or to intensify the level of support to Tier 3 instruction. Parent input and communication is an essential component of student improvement, especially at this level of support. A parent or guardian should be invited to this PST meeting to be informed of the instructional plan for his or her child. Part of Tier 3 planning is goal setting, which includes the target area for the student's instruction, baseline data, which is the original assessment score, short-term and long-term goals based on grade level norms, and associated growth rates as guided by the school psychologist, targeting more than one area for instruction. Data decision guides should be used to determine target areas of instruction for Tier 3 levels of support. If the problem-solving team recommends intensifying to a Tier 3 level of intervention, the team develops a plan of instruction which includes procedure, frequency and duration, assigned interventionist, and measurement strategy to monitor student progress. Intervention protocols provide guidance for instruction according to Tier 3 skill needs, including instruction, curriculum, and evaluation of the Tier 3 instructional plan. Intervention protocols are designed to define ICE, or instruction, curriculum, and environment. Instruction includes what instructional routines are we expecting educators to use? And how have we trained and coached educators on these instructional routines and programs? Curriculum includes what materials and programs are we expecting educators to use? How should the environment be structured? And does the structure provide adequate instructional time for students to respond? Also included is data evaluation, including what data is used to guide instruction and determine student growth. Notice too the directions for intensification at Tier 3. The layered instruction of Tier 3 is in fact intensifying Tier 2 instruction, curriculum, and environment. Part of that intensification includes such things as a decrease in the size of the group, or an increase in the instructional time per week, or an interventionist that is trained to provide the needed explicit intensified instruction for these students. After 10 weeks of Tier 3 instruction, the PST team reviews the student progress and determines the next steps for instruction. This includes developing a new plan for the next skill goal, or modifying or redesigning the current plan, or if there have been multiple cycles of 10-week instruction at a Tier 3 level of support without making adequate progress or growth, the student may be referred for consideration for the Exceptional Children's Program. Tier 3 review parent conferences should be conducted by the Tier 3 interventionist at the end of each intervention cycle. As of February 5th, 2016, the North Carolina State Board of Education voted to approve changes to the current Specific Learning Disability, or SLD, law. Changes to the definition, evaluation, and identification of SLD were included. The current policy aligns with current evidence and research within the field of learning disabilities. The current policy can be found at ec.publicschools.gov. So why did the state make changes? For one, a shift in focus from determining who is eligible for services to providing instruction that students need for success. Also, to shift away from an unexpected underachievement relative to intellectual ability toward unexpected underachievement in the context of high quality instruction and intervention. An RTI-based approach to a comprehensive evaluation, a multi-tiered system of support is critical. North Carolina intentionally paired an RTI-based approach to evaluation and identification of students with SLD with a multi-tiered system of support. Just to summarize the Tier 3 information shared in this presentation, Tier 3 instruction focuses on individual students whose progress monitoring data indicate they are at an intensive level of risk. The school schedule must employ an appropriate school delivery model to allow for intensive, small group intervention instruction. MTSS problem-solving teams make instructional decisions for Tier 3 students, led by their problem-solving team coordinator. Tier 3 interventionists monitor student progress weekly and conduct Tier 3 parent conferences at the end of each 10-week Tier 3 instruction cycle. North Carolina intentionally paired an RTI-based approach to evaluation and identification of students with SLD with a multi-tiered system of support. Your district-level MTSS team hopes you found this presentation to be informative and helpful, and that it better enables you to establish a healthy MTSS framework for school improvement.